Hello and welcome to the deck series. So this is the first deck I will start. This is Alisaris, and I will showcase all of my decks. This is about the deck series. All of my decks that I built in like 1 or 2 years ago, and they will be with all the cards. So it is no new or really new cards at the time. So don't be upset if I don't put those cards in. If they will be pretty good, you can put them in obviously, but it's just the main base decks that I built it, and the main idea and the main design is about the ruler and some abilities I really liked and I think are pretty nice to play. Maybe it's a good idea for your next deck, or you just enjoy seeing a deck profile. I don't know. Okay. So this one will be the longer deck profile, and I will make another one that's gonna be faster. Okay, if you want this deck profiles in German, just tell me. Okay, we start with Alisaris, the ruler. We play Alisaris obviously because we want the banished ability, because we're banishing all our cards out of the game, or pretty much a lot. And then we want to reuse them again and like have an unlimited loop, most likely. Okay, so Alisaris is mainly there because while you're removing your cards, you can abuse him to flip him cheaper, and then you have the ability with other cards that's combining with him, and you get your addition. If he enters the field, you get the addition that really works with your deck. I will showcase that later, the addition. And you have the God's Art, who's pretty nice, that you can deal 100 damage to each J Resonator to your opponent for each card from your removed area. So if you have like 10 cards out of the game, it deals 1000 damage to each J Resonator your opponent controls. And you can only use this once in a game, the God's Art. And then you have the ability, after you use that one, you can put that amount of cards you want into your graveyard back, so from the removed area. The other permanently ability is Resonators you control gain swiftness, precision, and first strike. This is our main win condition, and the other idea is like we out-resource your opponent and he has like nothing on the field and we could just kill him. But this making your Resonator swiftness is pretty strong. So we don't use him to win with this attack and defense because it's not that strong, but it's pretty nice though. So we go for the stones. We play 4 light fire stones. We need the light and the fire, that's why we play another Lumia stone. Because we don't play the ruler Lumia, the stone comes in tapped. If we pay 300 life points, it comes untapped into play. Next one is the Red Riding Hood or Red Hood stone. We just mainly use it. It's an generic stone that can make 200 attack and defense to a resonator. We choose an attribute, and it's probably gonna be red because we're gonna have like 5 light resonators. The rest is just fire, and all of them are fires. So all of them are resonators. Okay, we can only play one because it's a true stone. If you doesn't know about this, just read them. Okay. Then we have the Alisaris stone. This one works with Alisaris. If you don't have Alisaris, the stone comes in tapped. It's like similar to Lumia, but with Lumia stone you can pay 300 life points. That's pretty fine, I would say. Okay, you can, if you want to, put out of any of those stones, put in more Lumia stones or just stones. They're producing red and light maybe. But I just built this because I have those stones and I like it to have like the combination from removing everything. So the stone has the ability, unless producing red, he has the other ability to tap and remove the top card of your deck out of the game. It's quite nice, not that important, but it's nice. Then we have the first Resonator. So this guy, he deals 200 damage to a Resonator, but the cost for that is tapping him and remove the top card from your deck out of the game. That's a cost. You need to pay it every time. You cannot go like, oh, I tap him, I don't have a card, and then like you need to remove one, and in the end, if you don't have one, you're gonna die next turn anyway because you need to draw it. Okay, so that's pretty scary with the deck. You can deck dev yourself pretty fast if you not play correctly, so keep that in mind. And you have the combination if you I just show some tips. If your opponent has a Resonator with 400 defense, end of your turn, no, you didn't use him, then your turn, before recovery phase, tap him, deal 200 damage, you remove one, on tap, and you tap him again, remove one, and deal 200 damage. Okay, and every time you remove first before you deal damage. So I don't want to make something different if I say it in the incorrect order, just to tell you what's the right order. Okay, so this guy is pretty similar. You tap him again and you remove a card, but this time not from the top of your deck, so from your graveyard. And it's more specifically only fire cards, but because pretty much all of our cards are fire attribute, unless our Regalia, it's no problem, so you can just use him every time. And then the other ability is you can tap him, pay a fire, and get discard a fire card from your hand into the graveyard, and then you deal to a Resonator 600 damage. So it's quite nice. And again, same idea, you can tap before recovery and then tap again. So it deals like 1200 damage to Resonator, but you need to pay 2 red and discard 2 fire cards. So it's not that cheap. Okay, so mainly I would use him to produce the fire and him to deal the damage. You can, of course, if you have like a Resonator you need to get rid of, you use his ability to deal damage, but you will lose cards. It's not that of a bad trade, but keep that in mind so you don't get rid of all your hand cards. Her abilities, all of the goddess that I will showcase have the same ability, that if 10 cards out of the game are removed, they get buffs. So her buff is she gets plus 900 and 10 and first strike. So yeah, it means if there are 9 cards out of the game, she doesn't have any buffs and she's a 100. That's pretty useless, but she still has the enter ability. If you have a bad card in your hand, you can just remove it out of the game and draw a new one. That's quite nice, I would say. So in late game, if you draw this guy and you know you don't need him, get rid of him. That's like pretty nice, I think. And you don't need to. It's not a must ability. If she enters the field, you can choose. Next one is the Phoenix. It's one of the more late game cards that really help this deck out, or mid-range deck, because this Resonator has the ability to give your J Ruler first strike. Not first strike, sorry, imperishable. So if you have the J Ruler on this side and he dies, you can judgment him again. Otherwise you can't. So that's pretty nice to have. And the ability of him is pretty crazy. So he's flying, and the ability is for 2 light mana, 2 fire mana, you can put this card from your graveyard, from anywhere, to your field. So that means if you remove him out of the game, maybe with Vedivir, then you can pay his mana, the mana of the ability, and you can put him back to your field. And you could use him with other combination. If you would play Guinevere, you could use their ability to get him in the graveyard and then judgment him, and then summon him again. Pretty if it's cost efficient, I wouldn't say, but it's nice to have. Yeah, and otherwise it's 2 mana. That's quite nice. Next we have one of Skuld. Skuld is mainly there because she's a goddess, and mainly because of her ability. If you have 10 removed, she gets 300 plus 300 plus 300, shows is 800, and she gets swiftness. That's pretty good, because if our ruler really died and we need a quick damage like 800 for 2 mana, we have her. So her ability, if she enters the field, is not that great because it's a must ability. So you need to remove the 2 top cards of your deck. You need to. You don't have to choose. You need, and then you deal 100 damage to J ruler or a resonator. So you can choose either a J ruler or a resonator. And the damage will be 100 for each mana cost. So for instance, we had Skuld and Urthr in our top of your deck, and then you remove them out of the game. So this will be 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. 500 damage. Not that good. Because of our next resonator that does the similar job but much better, Urthr. She gets with her buffs not that much because she's already pretty big. She gets plus 300 plus 300 and target attack or precision. And when she enters the field, she gets the ability to choose if you want to get 2 cards or less from your graveyard out of the game. Then you can, if you do that, you can deal to a J or J/resonator 200 damage for each of the cost of the card. So same stuff as Skuld. If you would have like a Skuld and a Urthr in your graveyard and you remove both, this will be 200, 400, 600, 800, 1000. So instead of 500, it's 1000. It's the double the damage. Pretty easy, simple math. She's much stronger, I think. That's why we play 3 off and Skuld only 1 off. The next one is crazy. This is Alisaris himself. He just came in clutch, I would say. So this guy is pretty useful because you can show him his abilities. You can show him for 0 mana to your opponent, and then you can put him anywhere you want, pretty much. You can put him into your deck on top of your deck, not in the deck, on top of your deck. You can put him out of the game, you can put him into graveyard, and if you have him in hand, of course, you don't need to use anything. You cannot get him from the deck instantly to your hand, obviously, because that would be broken. But if you draw him, you can put him anywhere you want, unless on bottom of the deck. Yeah. Then his ability is he gets +1 cost less for each card that's in your removed area. So this resonator costs in the end 2 mana if you play it correctly and have more than or exactly 7 cards in your removed area. Otherwise he would cost 9 mana, that's pretty expensive. And if he enters the field, you can put a card from your removed area into your hand. So that's like, don't forget about if you have 10 cards and you want to have her ability still with the plus, and you play him and you use his ability to get a card, like there's not an option you need to, then you have only 9 cards, so her stats will go down back to her normal stats. So just do this in a good combination and it will be great. Okay, next we have the Ouroboros. This guy is a legend, I would say, because it's the best combo with your ruler. So if you judgment him and you use his God's Art. His God's Art is, as I told you, you put the cards from your removed area, you can put as many as you want, back to your graveyard. You need to chain it with your enter ability, of course, so it doesn't interrupt with each other. I will go later after that. And then if you've done that and you have a lot of cards in your graveyard, then you can use Ouroboros, because when he enters the field, you put all cards, you remove all cards from your deck out of the game. Then you shuffle your stone deck, your stone cards from your graveyard into your stone decks, and you shuffle all of your cards in your graveyard into your deck. That means your removed area is still your removed area, so nothing happens with that. But your deck will be your removed area, and your graveyard will be your deck. So you change that one, okay? And then if he dies and gets into the graveyard under the controller's player, then he gets to the controller's player on bottom of the deck. Yeah. exactly. Sorry. I was quite confused. So, next card we have the spells. And this will be the most important spell for the deck to actually get the 10 or more cards out of the game. Okay, so if you play this, you can look up to 7 cards. You look at you look 7 cards from your deck, off the top of your deck, and then you choose that many of Goddess Resonators you want, and you show them to your opponent, and then you put them into your hand. The rest will be removed from the game. So, as I told you, I didn't told you, she's a goddess, and she's a goddess. So we have we have actually 8 Resonators, because we only played 3 of her. So, from this whole deck, we have 8 Resonators we can get into your hand. So most likely when I played it, I get like 1 or 2, most likely. There can happen that you get no 1 or 0. It's still fine because you get the cards out of your game. And if you would even get 3 of those, you could consider only take 2, because you want to remove like a lot of cards with this. Most likely you want to remove 5 cards, because the rest 5 cards will be pretty easy with your generic abilities and everything. Yeah. So that's the only purpose to play this, to get your engine going. Okay. Then next is Demonflame. This is just a removal spell. You can choose either you deal 500 damage to a Resonator, or you destroy a Resonator that has already damage. Good combo with, of course, your smaller Resonator over here. If you just tap him, deal 200 damage, then Demonflame it and destroy it. Or obviously, if she isn't buffed, she's a 100/100, you block, Demonflame it. That's pretty easy. And because this guy has 100 attack too, you could even block with him and then Demonflame it. He has no attack, so he cannot block. See, he can block, but he will deal no damage, so you cannot combine it with Demonflame. You combine it with the tap ability, obviously. It has a cost to remove the top card of your deck out of the game, but yeah. So next is the Lightning Strike. Some of the cards I know the name. So this card is pretty nice, and it's a win condition if you have nothing to kill your opponent or to win the game by your Resonators. Okay, so his ability is you deal 500 damage to pretty much anything you want. So you deal 500 damage to a J Ruler, a Resonator, or to your opponent. That's it. It's pretty nice. Next we have one of the engine card for the looping. So this card is pretty simple. Take a card from your removed area into your hand. That's it. That's all what it does. Not really special, but it's pretty important. There are 2 one-offs. The one-off Regalia removal and the one-off Resonator removal. So this card deals 100 damage to a Resonator for each card from you out of the game, so from you anywhere, so whatever. So if you have, of course, 10, what's mainly your ideal of generic count, I would say, like 11, 12. This will be pretty nice because you can take some of the cards back to your hand, or use them in any other way, and you have still enough cards to get actually your abilities with your goddess. So then this will deal 1000 damage. That's quite nice. And if you have more, you have of course more damage. Then we got the Regalia removal. This one destroys a Regalia and you draw a card. Pretty simple. Of course, there will be some decks you don't need it, but again, we have some cards to get rid of it from the hand, so it's not a big of a deal. We can like refill our hand with better cards. Then finally we get to the next engine card for the looping, and now we can explain. So this is actually the field edition you get with the Alisaris. So because of the ability of this, you need to combine it if you want to have the cards back to your graveyard, because this will stop it. The ability of this is if a card from anywhere would get into your graveyard, instead remove it out of the game. So just only your side, your opponent can play as he pleases, but if you get a card into your graveyard, it gets removed instead because of this addition. So if you use the God's Art after this card enters the field, so I just show you how to play it. So you did God's Art, you Judgment, and then you did God's Art in chain of his enter ability. That's how you call it if you play on a tournament or something like that. So channeling 1 will be his enter ability, channeling 2 his God's Art. So now his God's Art comes, this card is still in your deck. And then you remove area, cards will be counted, then you deal that much damage as many cards you have in your removed area, and then you can choose how many you will put back to your deck. Graveyard, sorry. So as an example, you have like these 2 cards and you put them back. And then the addition enters the field, and now if you would remove a card, if you would put a card in your graveyard, it will get removed instead. Okay, and the other ability of this addition is you can now use all spells pretty much from your graveyard, because they get, sorry, I don't know how to call it in English, it's in German Überbleibsel, so you can reuse the card in your graveyard, but it would get removed instead of putting that back into your graveyard. Okay, so what that says, if you did a combo as I told you correctly, you most likely have more cards in the graveyard or more cards out of the removed area. You will put those spells back to your graveyard. So I wouldn't, if I had the addition here, I would let it there. I wouldn't put it back to your graveyard. Only if, as told you, you want to do the combo with Ouroboros. Okay. So then you can play this card again, and then because of the ability and because of the basic ability, it will just get removed, and then you get the looping idea. Okay, so we'll explain the looping next. And if you did it wrong, so you would do play him, enter fields is, these cards are removed, then you use the God's Art, you say, okay, well, oh my god, so many spells, I will put all of those back. Nope, this says no, it goes back out of the game. So that's why you do the combo. If you flip, you instantly Judgment. That's why you only wanna Judgment. What do I say? When you Judgment, you instantly do the God's Art because of the enter ability. So that's why you want to God's Art only, or you Judgment only if you want to do the God's Art, like in that way. Okay, so the last card and one of the most important for looping is the Regalia. So the ability is if the Regalia enters the field, you remove the top card from your deck out of the game, and then you have the ability to pay 2 mana, banish this card, so this would get into graveyard. I will come later with the combo. And then you can take 2 cards because you play Alisaris. If you don't play Alisaris, you can only take 1 card, but because of him, you can take 2 cards from the removed area back to your hand. So yeah, we have some cards to do that. So why will you play this? So for instance, you get the addition with your Judgment on the field, or you draw it and you play. I don't assume that, but most likely you Judgment and you get it on the field. Then you got your Regalia, and then you have, I would say, yeah, we just do this combo. Okay, then you have these 2 cards. Okay, so for instance, you would play this, it would get removed, deal 500 damage. You play this, you get this back to your hand. Now you can play this again, deal again 500 damage. So this will be already 2000 damage. 1000 damage. Then use the Regalia, get these 2 back to your hand, and now you can play this one, get your Regalia back to your hand. So this will get again removed. Then you can play this. Of course, you remove the top card of your deck. It's a new card. And then you can play this again, deal again 500 damage. Use the Regalia again, get both back. And as this may get it, or may see, you every time get 2 cards because of this, and with this you get every time this. Because this one says you can get only normal, like only cards there are not Regalias. Yeah, non-Regalias cards. So maybe I should have said that, because if you could get Regalias, you didn't need this one. You only need this one because you cannot get the Regalia by itself, so you need to have the combo with these two. And of course you need to have the addition, because a Regalia would get into the graveyard without this, and then you need to get it removed to get it from the removed area back to your hand, and it would make the combo pretty less effective if you don't have the addition. Okay, good. So this is the main, like this is one of the win condition combo you have with the 500 damage, and you make it like so many times that your opponent has 0 life points. Or the other option is to get those this Resonator back, because it's a 1000 as I told you, with the ability if you have more than 10. And of course if you Judgment with your ruler, then she gets swiftness, so it's like a swiftness 1000 attack. Yeah, you can combo with him and her, so you get him, enters the field, you get her, play her. Pretty simple, I would say. And yeah, this is pretty nice because it's a 2000, so pretty decent damage. So that would be the deck profile of Alisaris. I hope you enjoyed it and you get the idea how to play the deck.